When you're standing over fire, you've got two chefs short in the kitchen, your fish order's running late, you've got a fully booked restaurant, and you're in a hot, sweaty, fucking intense environment. You better be able to make very quick and good decisions. I didn't even start the company because I wanted to build some ultra successful business or brand or anything like that. It was really built out of frustration, of lack of understanding for the industry. And so that's when I started picking up a camera and was like, I think I can do this better than people who are doing it currently.
Hi, welcome to Video Growth Zone, the podcast where video company owners and videographers learn the secrets to scaling their business. I'm Andrew Heathcote. Together, we're going to dive into the strategies and insights from top industry experts and successful video entrepreneurs. Today joining me is Nathan Snow. Nathan is the founder of Food Story Media, content and marketing agency working in the food and beverage sector. Nathan has built his Instagram channel, Food Story Media, to over 250,000 followers and has leveraged that following to routinely fly all over the world, working with the world's top restaurants and hotels. We actually met at a Tony Robbins event out in Miami, which I mentioned as it sounds kind of exciting, but also to say that Nathan is truly 100% committed to growth. He's a pretty impressive guy. Let's dive in. Nathan, welcome to Video Growth Zone. It's great to have you on. Let's start here. What's the one thing that you consider the key to all that you've achieved?
I thought about this a lot. And while there's 100 things that impact this, it probably, if I had to choose one, it would be the ability to make quick, logical decisions. And I think that really is derived from my time in the kitchen because, when you're standing over fire, you've got two chefs short in the kitchen, your fish order's running late, you've got a fully booked restaurant, and you're in a hot, sweaty, fucking intense environment. You better be able to make very quick and good decisions under pressure. And that was my life for 10 years. It was working with, fortunately, some of the greatest chefs in the industry. And I think that really developed a sort of mental callus in my mind that I don't think I'd really have survived without. Now, equally so, parallel to that, they were definitely not all the right decisions. And I think as well that just openness to be okay with making the wrong decisions. Because I feel that ultimately being able to do that and keep moving forward, you're still going to grow and learn faster rather than hanging around waiting for someone else to take that opportunity instead. So that adaptability, that readiness, that ability to learn from every experience has been completely critical in my journey to date. It really has. And in reflection, something that my old man always used to say to me, like as a kid, this is something that stuck in my mind, like since I was a kid, going through some shit as well, from school to different jobs to later life and career and professional stuff. He still says it to this day. He said it to me about a week ago when we were on the way over moving house. I think it's actually derived from a prayer, which I'm sure you'll know. But it's one of those ones that really can apply to whatever your belief system is, be it God, be it the universe, be it energy. But he always said to me, son, grant yourself the serenity to accept the things you cannot change, the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that just got ingrained in my mind, as a child. I probably didn't really know what it meant for the first 10 years of listening to it. But then that one point where it just clicked, and I think it became indispensable. It was really what allowed me to sort of discern and discern when to adapt quickly or when to step back and reassess the situation. And those two parallels, the first one being that ability to make quick logical decisions, with that in mind, really helps me balance between action, like immediate effective action, and thoughtful reflection.
Very interesting. My next question was going to be, where do you think you learned that? Obviously from your dad, but also from the kitchen. I can't imagine a better training ground. So a topic of discussion with the video community, who are the guys that I'm speaking to on a week in, week out basis, right, is this whole topic around niching. You've obviously come at this from quite a different perspective. You've built now a very successful marketing company with a
Yeah.
content focus, social content and social media focus. But you kind of were already in that niche. Do you feel like that has been a big leg up for you? Do you feel fortunate to have had such I guess, a clear path to the audience that you now work with?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do feel fortunate to have known that it was, it was apparent to me. There was no question. I didn't, come away thinking, I'm going to go into sports or I'm going to go into automotive or whatever it might have been. There's 100 niches that you could go into. For me, it was born out of passion about what I wanted to do. It wasn't, I didn't even start the company because I wanted to build some ultra successful business or brand or anything like that. It was really built out of frustration of lack of understanding for the industry. And so that's when I started picking up a camera and was like, I think I can do this better than people who are doing it currently. And that was press and media and newspapers and all those things that were creating a perception of something that I believed wasn't correct. There was no story to it. I used to see guys from newspapers and all these things coming in to take a photo of a chef in a restaurant. And it'd be like, hey, hold this saucepan and toss up some flames or whatever like that. And firstly, that's something that doesn't happen in a restaurant. Like if you've got flames in a pan, you're fucking burning it. It's not real. It's just done for TV. So it was just seeing that all the time. I was like, this is not the story. This is not what it's about. You're not seeing beyond the plate of food, the item that's at the end result. There's so much more before that. And that's what I really wanted to communicate, because I'd done it for 10 years and I seen the sacrifice and all those things that chefs and front of house put into it to create this experience for someone. So it was born from there. And it was so clear to me that I almost felt a sense of responsibility to be this one that told this story. And that's also what gave us, I think, a leg up, because, I always say this, that the best stories are told by those who have lived them. And that give us the ability to have trust in those that we worked with. So they knew that we understood them. And I think that's a critical part for any agency or any creative, that whatever you're working with, whoever you're working with, you must deeply understand them. It's almost like 1% of it is just about how to take a picture or how to take a video or how to market something, how to post it. The other 99% is all to do with that story and understanding and developing relationships to build the connection, to build the rapport in order to create something that's truly magnificent.
Absolutely love that. And it sounds to me like what I'm hearing is that it also gave you the ability to solve a problem, a very clear problem that you saw in the marketplace, but because you understood that audience so deeply. And I think that's just such a great foundation for a very strong business, isn't it? The world doesn't need more products and services.
Right.
They just need answers to problems.
Exactly. Very much so. Very much so. And it was a weird one because it wasn't. I very much am a believer in, things happen as they should and all of that stuff. Equally, you've got to be driven by a mission, right? You've got to have, to build a successful agency or a business, whatever it may be, you've got to have a mission bigger than the products and services you offer. That's the bottom line. The mission has to be bigger than that. Because as we all know, clients come and go and things get hard and all that stuff. And as passionate as we all may be about that world and creating content and working with people, or the industry that we're in, passion dies pretty quickly in the face of hardship, right? So it's having that bigger power that pulls you forward. That's not just you always pushing, because I feel like that, that mentality of push is great for periods, and maybe that does work for a while, but the element of pull is much stronger. I mean, you've got something to pull you forward, to pull you through that stuff, I think stands on a higher ground.
That's a really interesting topic. Like, are you happy if we dig a little bit deeper on that? Is that cool?
For sure.
Because the reason I say that is that you talk about being pulled. When I think of yourself as an individual, you're probably the most passionate, the most energetic, the most driven person that I think know at this moment in time. So what's pulling you? Where does that all come from?
You know, there's two passions in my life, really. One is this food world, the world of food and beverage and hospitality. Hospitality really at the core. And what hospitality means to me at the absolute baseline of foundation is to leave someone better than you found them. And really, that is the overarching mission that overlaps into my second love, which is the world of personal development. I'm obsessed, is probably the most accurate word to describe it, by progress. And that, for a long time, I didn't understand how I could connect Food Story Media and that business to this other love of mine, until one day it clicked and I realized that Food Story Media is not about a business, it's about a community, and it's about having a massive positive effect and leaving a legacy on the industry. That drives me more than anything. It's not, you know, the $1 million clients and, you know, all of that stuff. Well, all of those things allow us to do the rest, but really it's those random messages that I get at like midnight from the other side of the world, from someone that I've never met before, that says to me, that video you just posted there changed my entire perspective and I needed to hear it. It's inspired me, or it's created some sort of driver to change, to take some action and become responsible for their life. That to me is like gold. I save them all on my phone. I've got them screenshotted in a specific place. And whenever I'm in the shit or going through some hard stuff, I'll go back and I'll look at them and be like, that's why, you know, that's the reason, is to have this mission of having an impact on the bigger picture.
So let's go there then, because I suspect the reason that you're getting those messages from all over the world is the fact that you've built a pretty significant social media following, particularly on Instagram, right? I'm really interested in that. When we first got to know each other, I had no idea that you'd kind of built this community so successfully. So how did that come about? Did you have this vision to build this big social media following, and why did you go on that journey?
Did I have the vision to build a social media following? The simple answer is no. Like, it wasn't set out like I need to create a big following. I think the question was really, once I realized what the mission was, and I was super clear on that, it was, how do we impact as many people as possible? That is the question that drove everything else. It wasn't, and this is where I think a lot of agencies and creators get it wrong, because they ask the question of, how do I increase my engagement? How do I increase my followers? How do I get more likes? All of those metrics. When in fact the question really needs to be, how do I impact the most people's lives? That's really the priority, and that shifted everything else. Because, you know, from a sort of technical standpoint, for the first, let's say, 4 years in social media, like most businesses or agencies, we posted content of the work we done, right? That we were proud of, and, you know, look great and all those things. The super high production content, all sleek and sounded great, look great, etc. And while that was producing business, it wasn't really fulfilling that other need, right? It wasn't driving enough. It wasn't fulfilling enough on a day-to-day basis. And we weren't, obviously, hence the name, right? It's Food Story Media. It's all about stories, right? That's everything to me. It's why, you know, I've got it tattooed on my hand, and, you know, I remind myself of it every single day, clearly. So it was, how do we tell more stories that inspire people? And that sort of shifted our strategy drastically, because it then became, you know, not this sort of egotistical approach where we have to show off our best quote unquote best work, we have to inspire people. We have to make a positive impact in this industry because that's our responsibility beyond clients, beyond business. And that sparked this idea of finding other stories that are out there and using that to inspire people. And, if it was simply a matter of building a social media following and all this stuff, then, we would just replicate other strategies that we've done for clients in the sense of building or in the sense of creating, quote unquote viral food porn shots, where the meat's cooking on a fire or the sauce is pouring or things are breaking open and all that stuff. All those things that we know performs very well, but there's not a huge amount of meaning behind it. And honestly, that would have probably taken a lot less work than I signed myself up for and our team up for at that point when we changed this strategy and decided that we're gonna do this because these stories are important, and it doesn't matter if we shot them or we didn't, but we need to share them because that's the platform that we're building. We're building this place where people can be inspired. We're building a place where people can come and seek other support or network with people that are like them. And that really changed everything.
So the key to building, even though it wasn't the end goal for you, was the intention, was the reason behind it, was the why. I guess from the outside, when I look at your journey, when I look at your agency, I see a guy who's flying all over the world to work with some big names in the food, drink, hospitality space. And initially, when we got to know each other, I'm thinking, how is Nathan doing this? Like, how is he pulling this one off? Because this is quite impressive, right? The moment I kind of realized you've got this big following on social media, you think, okay, I kind of see how that works. Now, is it as straightforward as that? Is my understanding right in that kind of this follow? I'm hesitant to use the word following, and because I know that it's not kind of what fuels you, but nevertheless, it's there, it exists. Is it the fact that these 250,000 odd people who follow you on Instagram are fueling this agency growth and this exciting life that you live? Is it as linear as that, or is there more to it?
Definitely not. That is a common perception. People literally associate big followings with rapid business growth. And it's most definitely not the case. While it's been important, and social media has always been our number one lead source, in fact, our only one, we've never ran ads on social or Google or anywhere before. 100% of our leads come organically through Instagram or referrals. So I think people have that perception, you've got huge following and suddenly you've got 100 leads coming every day. But the fact of the matter is that we don't have anything to sell all those people. The 99% of them, they're not our clients. They're industry people within the world of hospitality. That's a very clear niche that we have on social media. We have other clients that are not necessarily hospitality, but they are within food and beverage. But the fact is that we don't have a product to sell them. So it really is, there's no kind of financial reward necessarily from that. Now, we have been offered sponsorships and all those types of things, which I've said no to continually because I'm not trying to monetize that. It doesn't align with our mission right now, and the right person hasn't come up to partner with on that. But equally so, it's a volume game, right? So it has also been, of course, a tool. It is because we can say that we are perhaps the only agency within the food and beverage world that's done it successfully, that's actually done what we say we do for clients in the sense of social media and content and all those things. We've produced extremely quote unquote viral content, and we have between 1 and 3 million viewers every month to our account. And that's definitely a sales tool, right? That's completely true. It's not that we have never bought a follower, we've never bought a like. We've just given genuine value to people, inspired them, and built this really strong community that engages because they believe in it. They're on the mission with us. So yes and no. You know, it's like, no, that hasn't been an overnight success situation that it may appear to be. While it took 5 years maybe to build a following of 15,000, and in 6 months we turned that into 200,000 when we changed the strategy. But like our business didn't go like this. It didn't spike like that. It's, you know, it has been a steady progression over the years, because we've, you know, still got clients that we started working with right at the beginning, but it's referrals. And yes, through that period, other clients have found us through social media, some of our biggest ones. But it's not a, you know, it's not a volume thing, because we're not really playing in the mass market. We're offering a niche product, and also it's a high ticket product. So we, you know, we're not searching for everybody. We're not trying to sell to everybody. For us to be able to sell at the top and sell those high ticket products, deliver massive value, and get paid very, very well for it, allows me to support that bigger mission without having to sell them. For example, one of our not one of our biggest client to date found us through Instagram. And I can't say who it is exactly, but it's a client that you would never imagine would ever find us through Instagram. It's a corporate client, and they found us through one video that did blow up. That, you know, they weren't a follower originally. The video blew up, and someone that worked within that company seen it, and they said, we need to work with these guys because they understand what we're about. And they passed it on to the powers above, and then they got in touch with us. So it's a very interesting one. And sometimes you think something may not create a sale or you know, drive business. Absolutely will. And it may not be right now today, but it could be in 3 months or 6 months time, whenever that person realizes and connects that thought from that video in this agency to the opportunity that's at hand. So it's been a really interesting one to observe as well from my standpoint.
Do you think any of this would have happened, you know, irrespective of how much of an impact your social media following has on your business? It's still an exciting journey that you've been on, right? You know, blowing a channel up to the level that you have, you know, must come with its perks, must be just like a really cool experience. Then you've got the, you know, the business side of things, working with some big names, flying all over the world, like just, you know, the level that you've gotten to now. Do you think any of that, or do you think that would have happened on the same level had you have been a more general agency, or, you know, been making content for every single type of company? Do you think you would have stood a shot, or is it like a no contest?
Definitely not. I definitely don't. I really do also believe in niching. I think it's critical. I think, going back to what we said earlier, people trust people who understand them. And as much as you can know how to use a camera, or how to use marketing tools or social media platforms, etc., working with someone that really understands you and the process behind what you do is so much stronger of a connection and trust that you can deliver much more value with that. I think that's really what drives people to us. It's, they don't, you know, we're not, you know, I was a chef for 10 years. I'm very open about that. I didn't go to school to study marketing or social media or production or any of those things at all. I would say almost the reason why we've succeeded is much more because of the niche and my understanding of and my understanding of that niche. That's what's driven our success.
I think it's such an interesting perspective, because most, again, going back to the guys that I speak to, most are coming into this from like, hey, I love using a camera, and now I'm going to go and find an area of expertise, or I'm not. I'm just going to go at a general audience. And I just think it's so fascinating that you've come at it from the other direction, which I think it's a superpower. Like, honestly, I think it's gives you such depth of understanding as you're kind of describing. In fact, like, I kind of feel the same way about stepping into the coaching and mentoring space. All of a sudden I start to think, what could I do for coaches and mentors? Right. Because I now understand what it feels like, and being able to feel it rather than know it just means like the strength of the copy that you can write is so much more powerful. Like just your ability to be able to connect is on another level. It's really difficult to describe that to
Right.
somebody, right? So no, I totally get it. So you've reached this point in your journey. Has there been a moment where you felt I've arrived, or is that a dangerous way of thinking?
Yes, I think it is a dangerous way of thinking. Firstly, you know, I think I'm always a practitioner of gratitude for the path that I'm on and the great work that I and we get to do every day. There's definitely moments along the whole journey where I've like had to pinch myself and realize how far we've come from that starting point, because it has been a long ride. But we always forget about that. We always get that entrepreneurial tunnel vision on, and we forget everything that we've done before us. So I definitely bring constant awareness back to that. But speaking honestly and openly, putting all cards on the table, I'm not even close to feeling I've arrived, and I don't think I ever will. The destination to me is elusive. It's always ahead, and for two reasons, I keep it there. Firstly, because I think as humans we are fueled by progress and the idea of pursuit. And if we have nothing to strive for, I don't think we have anything to live for. We don't have that urge to achieve, to go somewhere, to do something, to act. So keeping that idea of a destination ahead of us is really what keeps us moving forward. And secondly, I'm just obsessed with the journey. I really am. I'm obsessed with the journey, not the peak. And I think that the real true reward is not arriving at any destinations per se, but rather more so the experience we gather along the way, because the process is 99% of where we live, like throughout our lives. Like it's 99% of pursuing. It's only that 1% of arriving. And so I'm a big believer in finding appreciation for the present while we strive for the future, because that's where we spend our time, that's where we live, and that's where we get our fulfillment. Thinking back, like this story sprang to mind when I was saying that. It was maybe 6 years ago, very early days of starting this business. Not long after I started it, I was living in this little tiny flat. We called it the tree house because it was like I couldn't even stand up in it. But nonetheless, it was great, and it was the start of where everything was born. But not long after I started the business, someone broke into our house and stole literally all of my equipment, like cameras, laptops, lights, everything. And I'm like, oh shit, what's going on here? This cannot be happening to me. I've just bought all this stuff. Don't have any money. Didn't have any money to begin with, and I ended up taking out a loan and had worked like two jobs, one in a Michelin star restaurant and one cooking burgers at the weekends in order to pay for the new equipment that I had to buy. But along that, like literally right after that, I remember writing something in my journal. I'm not a huge journaler, but I do when I feel the urge to, when I feel a moment or I've got something real to say. And in that moment, it was just like it was just an epiphany kind of thing at that time. And I wrote down, may not be in verbatim, but something along the lines of keep striving for the dreams you may never reach, because you'll learn that along the way, you're not defined by the place you set out, nor the place you're going, but in fact, the journey in between. And I always remind myself of that because it really is the absolute principle of anything successful in life. It's not the start or the end. It's that process in between. And that's what you have to fall in love with.
It's a really tricky balance, isn't it? I think, I don't know about you, but as I reflect on my journey, there's probably times where I've not got that balance right and become too focused on striving. Maybe times, and I'm not sure if you'll experience this because of how driven you are, but maybe times where I've become too content in the present and I'm not striving enough. And so it's a really tricky balance, but a very special place to be in. I think if you can find that balance and then you can perpetuate that balance over a long period of time, I think that's a huge part of where success lives, right? And again, it comes back to a feeling. Again, it comes back, I think, to the things that you're saying to me at the start of this call. With it's it's probably a large part about, you know, personal development, and it's about you as the business owner, right? I think so much of the work that maybe I do, maybe we do, I know you do a bit of coaching as well, helping others, is around strategy, when so much of progress is unlocked with personal kind of reflection and personal growth, and
So much,
your
man.
belief
Right?
that you can go to that next
It's
level,
all
right?
rooted
So
that. That's the
that's why I always love talking
likewise,
to you.
man.
So
I mean, I think that on its own, like that power of proximity, right? And we're blessed, right? We are blessed because you're on the other side of the world right now, but yet we still have that connection. You know, we met each other once in person, but we still have that relationship. And it's that one as well. You don't need to speak to the same that person all the time, but you just know you're on the same page. You get each other. You can drive each other. You can pick each other up when the other one needs a little lift, and vice versa. And finding those people, and find whether they are friends or they are mentors, you just need to get yourself around them, whether they're, you know, organic relationships or you have to pay for them for coaching. The return on the return on that investment is exponential. I think that is so critical. Yeah, it's in my experience at least. But it balance, like,
agreed,
balance is an
100%.
interesting word on its own, right? I think there's a perception of balance that people have that it's like this, and I don't think that's real. I think that's a false perception of balance. Balance is when it's like this, realizing, okay, I need to do a little bit more of this. And then it goes here and you say, like, okay, I need to do a little bit more of this. It's not always like that, but it's the ability to know when the scales are about to tip too far and being able to bring it back. Because life is always like that, right? We've got, you know, relationships, business, health, all those things, the big factors in everybody's life, finance, those are the kind of core four. You know, at least from my experience, those four have never been like, you know, this percent straight across the board. Never. Even now, like, it's always been, you know, challenges with that, but also just the acceptance of it too, that it's okay that they're not going to be all perfect, but the willingness to accept that and be okay with it and work on those that are not, you know, that's like the ever growing experience.
Is that the key, do you think, to being able to progress with a project, focus on the long-term tasks that will make the big difference in your business? Like building social media channels, it's not an easy thing to do when you're not getting any feedback in the early days, right? Is it just kind of being able to readdress? Is that the key to sticking with something in the long term for you? And I'll make that my last question, because we could talk for hours, and we can't keep people for hours.
For sure, man. I appreciate it. You know, building social media is very, very simple, but it's not easy, right? It's coming back to that same principle about delivering value, right? It really is. What are you giving? You know, one of the things that I apply to us, and our strategy is not, you know, the be all and end all. Of course, there's hundreds of different ways to skin a cat, as they say, but for us, it was about not only how do we tell them a story, but how do we make them the hero of it so that they come along with us on it. And it's really, first and foremost, understanding what is your story, because your story is your superpower. You need to know what that is, because it's the only thing that separates you from anybody else. You know, anyone can go onto YouTube and learn how to do social media things and learn how to use a camera and learn how to do all of these things. The difference is the story. Why should anyone do it with you? That's the difference. After that, it's about persistence. You must be willing to repeatedly reflect, adjust, and reapply again and again and again to find the strategy that connects. That's it. If you're willing to do that, you will progress. And it's only a matter of time to keep applying that, to keep applying it, have the resilience, keep your head down, doing it again and again and again. I can tell you I spent literally 10,000 hours at least creating content, posting content that didn't go anywhere, that didn't have any impact or meaning or any of those things. But it was just that idea of, what is the thing here that I need to learn? Not, why did that not work? And blah, 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 asking more empowering questions like, what am I going to learn today? Or what can I take from this? Even if it's something super, super small, what can I take from this and apply to tomorrow? And just constantly that reiteration of it. And of course, patience as well. Patience is a big one because it doesn't happen overnight. And being just not too hard on yourself. It's a super important thing too.
What a great place to finish. Look, I love chatting with you, Nathan, because I always leave inspired, and I hope that other listeners will today too. We could run this back at any time because there is literally, I've got a whole host of questions that we haven't even touched upon. We could talk for hours. Yeah. We probably will after we start recording, because that's what we tend to do. But always a pleasure, my friend, and I'm super grateful.
Likewise, it's an absolute pleasure to be here anytime, and I hope someone takes just at least one thing there and creates a new idea or a new perspective.
Thank you for tuning in to Video Growth Zone. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow video entrepreneurs. Stay connected with me on social media for more tips and updates. Specifically, don't forget to connect with me, Andrew Heathcote, on LinkedIn. And if you feel you might enjoy some assistance in scaling your own video company, reach out through one of the usual platforms for an initial chat. See you next time.